March 1944, Berlin. In the heart of the Reich Ministry for Armaments, a folder marked secret for the minister only landed on Albert Speer's mahogany desk. Inside lay the cold, statistical truth that would shatter the last illusions of Nazi leadership. Speer, once hailed as a miracle worker of German production, was about to realize the war was already lost, not on the battlefield, but in American factories. Despite relentless Allied bombing, Speer had transformed German war production. Aircraft output had tripled. Ammunition and tank production soared. Hitler himself called him a genius. But this folder revealed something devastating. German factories were on track to produce nearly 40,000 aircraft in 1944, a number Speer had proudly shown Hitler just weeks prior. But American production? Nearly 96,000 aircraft, not including British or Soviet efforts. And this was not a peak. It was sustainable. The Americans weren't straining. They were producing ships, tanks, trucks, and aircraft at scales that defied logic, while still maintaining domestic industry. Intelligence reports from neutral nations intercepted messages, and photographs painted a clear picture. American industry was simply unmatched. Factories like Willow Run in Michigan, operated by Ford, were producing a 4-engine B, 24 Liberator bomber every 63 minutes. One facility, 2 shifts, 6 days a week. Even accounting for exaggeration, the numbers were irrefutable. Swedish engineers touring American plants provided detailed reports. Japanese diplomats confirmed deliveries of hundreds of aircraft per month to South American training bases. Everywhere Speer looked, the data told the same story. America's industrial strength was beyond anything the Nazis had imagined. In Germany, production was secretive, factory locations hidden, workers sworn to silence. In America, magazines like Time and Life openly published photographs, production stats, even serial numbers, not for secrecy, but to encourage war bond purchases. The transparency was as shocking as the scale. Speer and his staff ran calculations. Even if U.S. production was exaggerated by 50%, it still far outstripped German output. But the evidence showed no such exaggeration. American 4-engine bombers required less than 1/3 the labor hours of a German fighter, despite being 5 times the size. Statistical quality control, mass production techniques, and worker specialization gave the U.S. a production edge that could not be overcome by German craftsmanship. By mid-1944, Speer knew the truth. America's oil output dwarfed Germany's synthetic fuel efforts. Aluminum production, steel allocation, even rubber. Every key material was produced in quantities Germany could not hope to match. U-boats couldn't stop American shipping. When a tanker was sunk, another was dispatched. As one Japanese attaché put it, "This is not war as we understand it. It is industrial arithmetic." The technological gap widened too. America mass-produced advanced radar, proximity fuses, turbochargers thousands at a time. German versions, when they existed, were handcrafted and rare. German engineers confessed, "We are artisans. They are industrialists. We cannot compete with mathematics." Even in the air, disparity grew. American pilots entered combat with over 300 flight hours. Germans, by 1945, averaged 50. Some never flew their aircraft until their first mission. America had more bombers than trained crews. They could afford waste that would cripple any other nation. By August 1944, Speer fully accepted what Hitler still denied. When he presented the figures, Hitler dismissed them as propaganda. "Wars are won by will, not statistics," he claimed. But Speer saw the truth in every intelligence report. The numbers weren't just facts. They were fate. By 1945, Speer warned Hitler that continued resistance was futile. Hitler responded with the infamous Nero Decree, demanding the destruction of Germany's infrastructure. Speer refused. They can rebuild in weeks what we destroy. We cannot rebuild in decades, he wrote. The war would continue for months. But Speer had already seen the final verdict, printed in black and white on American production reports. The United States built 300,000 aircraft, 86,000 tanks, 2.6 million trucks, and 6,500 naval vessels by war's end. Germany's total? A third at best. And that's before counting Lend-Lease support to the Allies. In a post-war interview, Speer said it plainly. We believe we could overcome production. We were wrong. The war was lost a moment. We saw they could produce 96,000 aircraft in a single year. Germany had gambled ideology against industry. But war in the 20th century was no longer won by spirit alone. It was won by the factory, by logistics, by raw industrial power. And in 1944, that power belonged to the United States.